everyone. I'm Maia Schneider. I'm an academic advisor at the University of Arizona, and I'm here today with Maggie Thom, who's going to be talking to us about Satisfactory Academic Progress, or SAP standards. Hi Maggie, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So can you explain a little bit about what it is you do at the college, or in your office?
Yeah, so I work for the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid in the compliance sector of our office, and I, along with a couple of my coworkers, oversee our Satisfactory Academic Progress policy.
All right, awesome. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what Satisfactory Academic Progress, or SAP, actually is?
Yeah, so students utilize financial aid to cover their educational costs in order to gain their degree. So the key word there is like gaining their degree. One of the requirements for receiving federal financial aid that we're given by the Department of Education is to ensure that students are making progress toward graduation. So one way that our office does that is through our Satisfactory Academic Progress policy. And at the end of each semester, we go ahead and we monitor our students to see if they're meeting SAP standards. And the reason that we do this is to ensure that they're meeting graduation on time. We'd also like to make sure that they're not incurring unnecessary debt by staying too long. And then the final thing would be that they're using their financial aid in a manner that they can keep it the entire time that they're here, most effectively.
All right, thank you for that answer. Can you explain what the SAP standards are?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 3 SAP standards. We have GPA. So that requires that an undergraduate student has a 2.0 cumulative GPA. For a graduate student, that's going to be a 3.0 cumulative GPA. And then the second standard is PACE. So students must pass 2/3 of the coursework that they take. The exact percentage of that would be 67%. And then lastly, we have a maximum time frame, would be the last SAP standard, and students can use financial aid to cover 100 up to 150% of their published degree requirements.
Okay. So what does this look like for students?
So the first time that a student's not meeting Satisfactory Academic Progress standards, so let's say they fall below one of the 3 items that I just went through, they're going to be placed in a warning status. And the student, for the first term that they're in warning status, can continue to receive federal financial aid. And we give them that semester to see if they can go ahead and bring their standards up to meeting. If a student then does not meet SAP standards at the end of that term again, they'll be placed in a financial aid suspended status where they can no longer receive financial aid.
All right, awesome. If a student isn't meeting SAP standards, how are they going to know?
That's a great question. So students will receive an email at the end of the term if they are in a warning status or if they're in suspended status. So we send them an email letting them know what their status is. In addition to that, students can check their UAccess Student Center on their to-do list. There'll be a SAP to-do list item. And then on top of that, also in their UAccess Center, they can go ahead and go to financial aid. And then if they click on Satisfactory Academic Progress, they'll be able to see their status there as well. And we have a screenshot of that on our website that students can see. And then lastly, they'll also receive an invitation to a workshop. So we do SAP workshops to help students fill out their appeal and also just understand the SAP process better.
All right. So if a student does lose eligibility for financial aid, what can they do at that point?
So I think the first thing that our office would really like students to know is that we understand that life happens and that they're not always at 100% for their classes due to circumstances outside of their control. So one thing that comes to mind immediately is, students maybe were surviving a pandemic, or there are things that impact their mental health, or maybe there was a loss of a loved one that happened during the term that didn't enable them to 100% focus and do well in their courses. So we understand that those things come up, and that's why we have an appeal process for SAP. So a student who wasn't meeting their SAP standards has the ability to appeal to our office. And that's an opportunity for our students to work through with us, what happened that didn't enable them to meet those standards, and then what are they going to do moving forward to help ensure that they're successful. The other option for students who don't wish to appeal is that they can pay out of pocket until they are then meeting the SAP standards and can receive financial aid again.
All right, thank you. What does it look like to file a SAP appeal?
So the first thing that we would tell students would be to go to our website. That's where you're going to be able to find the forms. We have a main form, so a student that's not meeting any of the SAP standards or more than one SAP standard will fill that out. And then a student who is not meeting maximum time frame has an additional form, and that'll be our SAP maximum time frame academic plan. So they'll go to our website to get that main form. And then in that form, there's a personal statement section. So that's where the student, like I said before, will explain to us what extenuating circumstances led to them not meeting SAP standards. And then moving forward, what are they going to do to change those circumstances, or how are they going to be more successful in the future? And then after that section, there's a section where they meet with an academic advisor. So they would come to your office and meet with you. And our office really thinks that academic advisors are the best resource for our students to figure out what is my plan moving forward, and maybe connect them to resources on campus that could help them be successful, like Think Tank, or maybe counseling and psych services, Thrive Center, or maybe the student can get connected to a cultural center so they can have a little bit more community. And then lastly, the student will just certify, sign the form, submit it to our office. And typically it's about a 3-week process for us to review those, depending on the time of year.
All right, thank you. So what happens after the appeal is approved?
So once a student has an approved appeal, they're going to receive an email from our office. And within that email, so this email is very important because in that email is going to contain the student's probation conditions. So a student could be given a 2.0 semester GPA and they need to pass 2/3 of their classes. So those would be the conditions, an example of conditions that we would give to a student. And then for maximum time frame, what those students will be told is that they can only take courses that are listed on their SAP maximum time frame academic plan. So that's all in their approved email. And then additionally to that, in their Student U Access Center, if they go to Financial Aid and click on Satisfactory Academic Progress, they'll also see that they're in an academic plan status. So that is another marker that tells them that their appeal has been approved. And then their financial aid typically from that point will take about a week to disperse into their account, as long as they don't have any other to-do list items. So just to make sure that they have all those done. So once an appeal is approved, that's kind of the process that they'll go through. For the spring 2022 is the first semester that we're implementing a new policy in our office, which we're really excited about. So students who previously had to appeal every single semester if they weren't meeting SAP standards, now, as long as they're meeting their semester conditions that are laid out within that email, at the end of the term, we're going to go ahead and check to make sure they met those standards. And if they did meet those standards given to them in their approved email, the next semester we'll roll them to probation. So the student won't have to re-appeal as long as they've met their conditions. So they won't have to wait for their financial aid the next term.
All right, that's an awesome new policy.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
All right. Well, I think that's most of the questions I had. The last thing I wanted to ask was just what kind of resources are there out there that students can get more information or assistance with this?
So the first one would be our website has a bunch of helpful tips, so financialaid.arizona.edu, and then if you go to policies and you click on SAP, that would be one. Also, those workshops that I talked about earlier, we do have SAP workshops available. Those are great. I would start with our website, and then of course our office is always open to questions or appointments if students do have more questions.
All right, well, thank you for joining us today, Maggie. I feel like this was a lot of useful information for both me and our students. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we sign off?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thanks for being here.